Over the weekend, LA County moved to reinstate its indoor mask mandates, vaccinated or not, after the area saw an uptick in coronavirus cases. This roughly 2 months after the CDC issued guidance that stated those inoculated with the COVID-19 vaccine did not have to wear masks indoors.
Following the move, LA County's sheriff announced that he would not be enforcing the mandate and that he believes the decision is not backed by science. As the new Delta variant continues to spread across the country while vaccinations slow, more states and counties consider reissuing mask mandates. We have new Hill-HarrisX data that weighs in on the matter. Let's take a look.
This is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated. We are seeing outbreaks of cases in parts of the country that have low vaccination coverage because unvaccinated people are at risk, and communities that are fully vaccinated are generally faring well.
Millions of Americans are still unvaccinated and unprotected. And because of that, their communities are at risk, their friends are at risk, the people that they care about are at risk. This is an even bigger concern because of the Delta variant.
What concerns me, Anderson, are the people who are not vaccinated. Clearly, the vaccines that we use in this country do quite well against the Delta variant, particularly with regard to protecting against serious advanced disease requiring hospitalization.
Now, overwhelming majority of voters, 74%, said they support their area reissuing mask mandates if a spike in cases occurs, while 26% do not. The issue gets bipartisan support as well. Ryan, what's your take on that angle, the bipartisan support?
It's interesting because it suggests that the debate that we're having in the national media is much more intense there than it is out in among the rest of the public. Even among Trump voters, you have a majority showing net support for reinstituting a mask mandate if cases spike, which would be surprising if all you're doing is consuming or viewing this issue through the prism of kind of cable news. You would think that no, 100% of Trump supporters are going to say no to this mask mandate, but across racial categories, across age demographics, you see very strong support for masking up if the public suggests that it's required.
A different question would be personal compliance with mask mandates. So whether or not you think, a pollster asks you should mask mandates be brought back? Okay, whether you personally are going to comply with the mask mandate, whether or not you're vaccinated, is another question entirely. I would be curious about that. But your point is really
the no ones probably are the ones who don't want the mandate back. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but even among the people who say, sure, bring the mandate back, I wonder how many of them are going to go to the grocery store and actually put the mask on. Now, I think there's a really important point that you just made, which is this is, I think, polarized, or this has become politically charged for this hardened and calcified segment of the public. And I think we see some similar stuff going on with vaccines. This is like an issue for the people who are intensely pro-Trump and intensely anti-Trump. And there are a whole lot of people that are between those two sides. And it's not partisan. I think the poll shows that. It's not partisan in the sense that it's a Democrat-Republican divide. I think, honestly, it's really whether or not you're intensely pro or anti-Trump. I think that explains how you have that fraction of the population that is intensely in either direction.
Yeah, right. So if you look at the strong opposition to reinstating the mask mandate,
right,
among Donald Trump voters, that 31% of those are strongly opposed. So you have 53% net support, and that's split between 28% strongly support, 25% somewhat support. But of those who oppose, 2-to-1 of the Trump voters, by a 2-to-1 margin, they strongly oppose rather than kind of mildly oppose it. So that 31% number of Trump supporters, which is, let's say, 45%, if they're being, the number of people who admit that they lost for the candidate, that they voted for the candidate who lost the election goes down.
Yeah.
Like if you asked a year after the Bush v. Gore election, you found like 60% of people said they voted for Bush, and after 9/11 it went even higher. I'm like, well, we know that's not true. Like, we know it was like a 50-50 race, and so let's say about 45% of people or 40 to 45% of people are saying they voted for Trump. A third of those are strongly opposed to the mask mandates, which translates to something like 15% of the population.
Yeah, and I think that sounds exactly right. That seems to be exactly the right fraction of the population. Now in New York, Mayor Bill de Blasio announced he would not be reinstating a mask mandate despite a case rise in the city. And after some health experts and lawmakers have called for it, instead he stated he intends to double down on vaccination efforts. I actually think that's the right thing to do. That seems to me, you just heard in the sod, everybody saying this is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated, and that's being borne out in the numbers that we're seeing coming in from hospitals and everywhere around the country right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. At the same time, I also wonder if what we learned from some of the mandates and lockdowns is that people have they're like generally self-interested in their own health, right? Like they want to protect themselves. They don't want to be they don't want to end up in the hospital. And I think after all of this time, it's sort of just like, these don't need to be handed down like law from the governments as though they're God. People can take care of themselves. And that sort of seems to be a sense that I'm getting from a lot of these politicians around the country right now who are just like, get vaccinated. We don't need to bring back the mandates right now. Yeah,
you and Bill de Blasio on the same page. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Who would have thought, yeah. A lot of people are continuing to wear masks anyway, despite the mandate. We'll probably see people in the winter, some people continuing to wear masks years from now, just the same way that in a lot of Asian countries, you'd see a significant portion of the country after some of those epidemics. People just get used to like riding on public transportation and just feeling like, you know what? I'd rather have a mask in between me and all of these people and whatever they're breathing out. I'm not saying it's COVID, but I don't want to get the flu either.
Yeah.
And so then if you combine that with upping the vaccination rates, that is the only path out of here.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all. These are interesting numbers, and it is sad. If we take that 15% we just talked about, for instance, it is sad that even on some of these extremely important issues, they do become so politically charged. As we talked about yesterday, they're litigated so poorly in the media that we end up, and we're seeing, I think, spikes now because of all of that. I mean, it's just an incredible feature of the times that we live in, and it's sad to see, but hopefully we'll turn a corner once again soon enough.
Let's hope. Thanks for watching What America's Thinking, and we will see you tomorrow.